Hello and welcome to my review of the brand new Drukhari or Dark Eldar Incubi models. You'll find these in the Blood of the Phoenix box set. This is October 2019 and that is the only way you can get these models. If you type in Incubi on the Games Workshop web store, they won't come up because they've removed the actual models like they removed the Hound and Banshees. So you have to get this set, £140, a lot of money. But if you are interested in these Incubi, Andrazar, Janezar and the new Hound and Banshees, then that's the way to go. But like I say before, like I've said when I unboxed it, it's an expensive option. It's very expensive to get hold of these models, and I do think it is a paywall. I'll talk about that more in my review of the whole set. Anyway, what I like to do is just show you these models individually. Then I'll show you the spare parts, we'll go through some size comparisons, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the rules. I don't have the Dark Eldar Codex, so I can't really compare and contrast the rules in there. I think everything is pretty much the same as it was before. Maybe there's points cost changes, but if there are any differences, please do, like I said in the Hound and Banshees review, put it in the comments below for any glaring additions or omissions from the current 8th edition book. Okay, let's have a look at the models up close and personal then. So leading the front is the Kayaking. It's, you know, a similar vein to Hound and Banshee Exarch. Typically they have one more wound and more attacks and a better leadership. But this Kayaking here is equipped with the demi-claves. You can have them as single or dual. You have got the option of having him with just a clave instead, which is what all the rest of the Incubi are equipped with. I think he looks pretty cool with the demi-claves. A little bit like he's Kayaking, I suppose, with the paddles, because you only get one paddle. But still pretty cool model, very stoic looking. I like a little bit of a scenic base. There's only one other Incubi that has slightly bit of a scenic base. However, all the Hound and Banshees, all of them have a little bit scenic bases. So if you're into scenic bases, then Hound and Banshees are the way to go. They are all monopose models. You can only put the heads in certain places and the arms in certain places. Not like the traditional sort of Space Marine kits where you can move them about. This Kayaking himself, the scenic base has some thorns on there. That's pretty good. Got some Eldar symbols, 4 horns. Typically all the other Incubi have 2. I think 2 of the other Incubi have 4 as well, but they're a lot smaller, not as prominent as this Kayaking. So there he is, that's the leader in charge. Let's have a look at the other models from left to right. So these are all armed with the claves, massive weapons, huge swords. Double-handed, triple-handed, whatever handed. You know, you've got a grip there, you've got a grip in the blade there, and then another one there. Yeah, incredible. I like the spikes on them. They're all slightly different as well. This one has a couple of like hooks on the end of the blade, on the cutting edge. It's only got one cutting edge. Hey, I'm becoming a knife reviewer. So yeah, that's this dude. And then this one. He's got his hand on the top grip as well. In fact, they all are holding them in exactly the same way, except for one of them is holding the grip there. We'll have a look at him in a moment. It would be cool if they had one of them holding it in one hand, like double-handed the actual clave grip there. That would be pretty awesome. So that's that one. And then this one, yeah, he's got his hand in that grip. No ranged weaponry at all, unlike the Hound and Banshees that have those shuriken pistols. That's probably the worst pose, I think, out of all of them, in my opinion. And then this guy as well. Interesting. They're all slightly different, but again, they're all monopose, and you can't really customize them really, unless you had some spare parts, some Dark Eldar parts, and you could put some runes and stuff on them. But they're going to look just like they are on the box. But there we go. And then finally, the other little model is just like you get with the Howling Banshees. You get like a little totem, like monument thing. I think it's just not like an objective marker. This is a very thin piece of plastic here, but it's cool. It's the Incubi symbol. It's got the clave there as well. Really pretty cool. I like the thorns growing either side as well. Nice little addition. I wish all the box sets had something like this in as well. Just adds to the whole value, I suppose. Okay, so spare parts. Let's have a look at them. I've got them way over here. So this is what you get. Plenty of heads. You know, if you don't want to go for the helmeted versions, you get lots of normal heads. I always go for the helmeted versions where I can. You know, especially when it comes with Eldar as well. Ugh. So yeah, this is one of the claves. Massive piece of weaponry. I mean, look at that. It's taller than them themselves, really. You know, it's a huge weapon. I mean, compared to a Space Marine. Yeah, way taller than it's taller than a Primaris. Yeah, it is. It's way taller. So you're looking at like a 8 to 9 foot sword. It's ridiculous. And these guys are only strength 3. Let's you know, they're not orcs or anything, are they? So yeah, massive clavex. Here the dual blades. That's quite cool. Quite funky. You get these 2 extra bits. I haven't forgot to glue them on anything, but I think it's just in case of the Exarch. If you just wanted to have him as a normal Incubi, you can do. You get a different chest plate armour. You get a different head, helmeted head there, just a normal one rather than the Clavex. Again, if you wanted to have him as a normal Incubi, you get a different arm, probably for one of the swords. And then you get some heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So exactly the same number of bare heads as the Howling Banshees. We'll just go through them all. That's this one. Clearly that looks like the Clavex. I think I'd call him that. You know, this one. So it's the same as the Howling Banshee set with the 8 bare heads. I do prefer these bare heads though. They got all kinds of tattoos and markings on them. Different facial expressions. If I was going to have them helmetless, I'd have these Incubi as helmetless and have the Howling Banshees with helmets on, because these definitely show a lot more character. But obviously that's because they're showing their teeth and their mouths. But just the eyes and the eyebrows and things, fair bit of attention to detail in those. So yeah, a similar number of spare parts there as the Howling Banshees. It's almost like they were designed side by side, both of the 2 sets, because they share so many similarities. Okay, so now let's go through size comparisons. So straight away, there's Drukhari. Whop. Yep, with those dual claves. Definitely stands heads and shoulders way above the rest of them, because Games Workshop are now putting them on these like sort of raised bases for the characters, which is fine. You know, they're doing a good job with the scenic bases. Big fan of them. They look very stoic, they look very immovable, pretty good, and he works really well with them, you know, aesthetics wise. And let's just throw in the Visarch as well. The Visarch, similar as well. He works quite well with the Incubi, especially if you paint them all the same colour. That would work too, which I might do actually. Might paint them in a nice red colour. Okay, so compared to Howling Banshees then, this is just a normal Howling Banshee. We'll move Drukhari out of the way. So similar height. I'd say Howling Banshees have it in terms of height, just because they don't have those extra, I want to say power plant vents, you know, pieces of armour on the back. And they're leaping, you know, they're higher up, they're leaping off of scenery. They're just a little bit taller, you know, in those poses, but it's mainly just the poses that give them that height. Compared to Jane Zar will be mowing a load of these down, or not. Yeah. Stands very, very tall against these Incubi. Comparing them to other Eldar models then, so you've got the Wraithguard, like the Howling Banshees, Wraithguard is way taller, and the same with the Wraith Lord, much taller as well. And then let's just compare them to Incarn. Yeah, Incarn, much taller, but works really well with them as like bodyguards or whatever. Yeah, I like the aesthetic of all of them. They just share a lot of aesthetics. The whole Ynnari range with the Drukhari. And finally, let's just show you some side comparisons with Space Marines. So I think I did a little one with the sword, but yeah, compared to normal Space Marine, I kind of want to say normal Space Marine is the same height, a little bit taller. So these guys are a bit short, I want to say, compared to Primaris. Primaris is way taller, another head above these Incubi. So yeah, you know, I'd say the size creep, you know, they're still making smaller miniatures for other races. They're not gradually making them bigger. I don't know how they compare to the older Incubi. You'd obviously have to look at a review where they show them, where someone shows them next to the old Incubi. But yeah, they're making them the size that they should be, I think, in my opinion. Okay then, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules. As I said at the start, unfortunately I won't be able to compare them to the previous rules, so I have no idea in terms of if the stat line has remained the same. But I will tell you in this new Blood of the Phoenix book, they are an elite choice. They're a power points cost of a 4, and the unit cost is 16 points per model, which means they are 3 points more than the Howling Banshees, which I think are 13 points. Because you have to buy that power sword at 4 and the points are 9, so they are 3 points more than Banshees. So the stat line reads movement of 7 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength and toughness both 3, 1 wound, 3 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 3+. The Clavex is movement of 7 inches, weapon skill is 2+, ballistic skill is 3+, strength 3, toughness 3, 2 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9 and a save of 3+. So this is very interesting, comparing this squad to the Howling Banshees. The Incubi are slower at movement of 7 inches, but believe it or not, they get 3 attacks instead of the Howling Banshees only 2, and their saves are better at 3+. Personally, I'd rather have 1 inch movement speed less, 1 more attack and a better save than what the Howling Banshees are bringing. An interesting note is the Howling Banshee Exarch as well. The only difference there is she gets 2 wounds and 3 attacks, whereas the Incubi kind of Exarch equivalent, again gets 2 wounds, again gets an extra attack at 4. However, his weapon skill is better at 2+, and his leadership is 9. Now, those 2 extra additions I would have expected to have on the Howling Banshee Exarch. I don't know if it's a misprint or whatever, but it doesn't sit well with me, and I can't grasp at the reasons of why Games Workshop have kind of debuffed the Howling Banshee Exarch, but buffed this Clavex. Anyway, moving on. The unit contains 1 Clavex and 4 Incubi. It can include up to 5 additional Incubi, power rating of +4. Every model is equipped with Clave. Now the Clavex can be equipped with 1 Demi-Claves instead of 1 Clave. Fair enough. Now the Demi-Claves, which is what the Exarch can take, which is what I've equipped him with, but they're in the locked position, I suppose, the single blade position. The single blade is a melee weapon. It's a strength +1, so that's strength 4, AP -3 and damage 1. That's pretty good. You know, still quite squishy at strength 4 though. Dual blades though, strength of the user, which is 3, unfortunately, AP -2 and damage of 1. However, model attacking with dual blades can make 2 additional attacks with them each time it fights, so much like Drazar. And then the Clave, which is what all of them have, is a strength +1, AP -3 and a damage of 1. That's pretty decent. So now their only weakness, I suppose, is their toughness 3, because the Claves bump up their strength to 4, they got 3 attacks, the save is 3+, the weapon skill is 3+, pretty decent. Don't know why they have a ballistic skill, but they do. They haven't got anything to shoot with. Would have been nice to have some kind of shredder pistol or something somewhere, but these are purely melee but this is a purely melee focused unit. Abilities, power from pain. I won't go through that because I went through that in Drazar's review. If you want to know about that, you know, please do watch Drazar's review. But basically, every battle round, it's cumulative. They get an extra ability, everything from ignoring wounds on a 6s to subtracting 1 from leadership characteristics of any enemy units within 6 inches of them. But it's cumulative, so the longer the battle goes on, up to round 5 or more, the more powerful they get. Lethal precision. If the wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by this unit is an unmodified 6, add 2 to the damage characteristic of that melee weapon for that attack. That's pretty good. So you add 2. So all of a sudden these claves are now damage 3 at AP -3. That makes it horrific. So 6s for the wound roll for attacks. You're getting a lot of attacks, let's face it. You're getting 12 attacks plus the 4 with the Clave X. You're getting 16 attacks. It's a good chance you're going to be getting a few 6s there. And then Tormentors. Each time your opponent takes a morale test for a unit that is within 6 inches of any enemy Incubi units, and the result of the morale test equals the highest leadership characteristic in that unit, the test is failed and 1 model flees the unit. That could be pretty horrific, seeing your enemy units you know, run away. Faction keywords: Eldari, Drukhari, Incubi and Infantry. So they're going to work really well with Drazar, because Drazar can add 1 to the wound rolls for friendly Incubi units. Obviously that's going to be brilliant with that lethal precision. You know, helping to get those 6s on wound rolls means you're going to be getting an extra 2 damage. So I think that is worth more than Jane Zar's ability for fighting first every time. Fighting first is good, and ignoring Overwatch is very good, but I much prefer more damage and better saves. I think the models are fantastic. I really like the aesthetics of them. They're going to look well. They're going to look excellent in any Eldar army, not just you know, Drukhari. If you've got a combined Eldar force for 40k, they're going to fit well, especially with the Visarch as well, and any of your kind of Iniad models. They're a solid unit. They do have a decent save. They're a bit squishy with toughness and only have 1 wound, but they are still fast. Their weapons pack a punch despite any ranged capability, and they have some decent abilities which buff them even more, especially if you use Drazar with them. Anyway, what do you guys think of the models and the rules? Please do put it in the comments down below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. May the winds of fate guide your sword.